all of these places that I have to hit record. Hello and welcome, Just a Family. This is Giving You Something to Talk About Live TV, and I'm your host, Melissa Krechler. I am also an identity coach and a spiritual teacher. This episode is being sponsored by A Phoenix Identity, helping you light up your life, recreate your identity, and recreate just your life in a way that's aligned to you and what you want, because it's all about your own self-expression. Today's episode is occupational burnout, and coming from me, a business owner of 5 businesses, 4 kids, a husband, and 5 cats and a dog, I am very busy. So that is what we're talking about today. And to join me on this amazing topic is Jamay. So I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce yourself. Please do.
Hi, I'm really happy to be here today. My name is Jamay Fisher, and I have an extensive personal history when it concerns occupational burnout. So when I talked to Melissa and I said, yes, occupational burnout, for sure, I could talk about that for hours. And she invited me. And so I was just really happy to be here.
Occupational burnout is huge. And it's not, when we say occupational burnout, this episode, we're going to be focusing on more so high profile professionals or anybody in the professional sector. But not only that, at the beginning, right, I introduced the fact that I have 5 businesses. I am a mother of 4. I have a ton of animals and a husband and a house to take care of. And even stay-at-home moms experience occupational burnout. It's not just delegated or relegated to the professional community, although that is what our focus is today. So just so everybody knows.
No, for sure. It's something that we still work through. It's not like you're just okay and then it's over. It's just, it's always an act of intentionality to continue to improve our own emotional and mental health. So it's not like you get it, check, tick the box, you're done. It's just part of the human experience. And some of us are more sensitive to it than others.
Oh, absolutely. I think the reason why I like to say that it's not just relegated to one specific outcome or target audience is because it all comes down to putting yourself first. Occupational burnout and burnout in any way, shape, or form comes down to putting yourself first and taking care of yourself first, like putting your mask on first, right? That's right. It's just, it comes. So tell us your story about occupational burnout.
And you get there because we work in, or we do things, especially people who identify as women tend to put other people first, right? Especially when you're doing whatever professional role that you have. You mentioned even stay-at-home women, women who work out of the home, I should say, can experience burnout. So it can show up in a lot of different ways. And it's actually a form of depression, sort of say, not that is necessarily a clinical thing. The World Health Organization calls it like a phenomenon. So it doesn't necessarily have a medical term when I read up on it from the World Health Organization and the things that I wrote, but it's really a place where we come to experience, I just simply call it like anxiety or profession in terms of what we're doing for our jobs. We spend a lot of time on our work. Like I said, it was regardless if you work from inside or outside the home, we spend a lot of time in our work. That's a big portion of what we do in our lives. It's like a relationship. So I'm a public relations coach and consultant, and I help a lot of high performing people, and their job is their positions, their roles, their businesses is a big portion of their identity. So it was easier for me to get sort of caught up in making my job and what was happening in my job meant me. So for example, I'm a very action oriented person. Like I'm an action girl, like I would do all the things. And then what happened was in the kind of work that I do for people who have front facing businesses where you're talking to a lot of people, or people who sell their expertise or people who work in the public, like educators and folks like that. You're in front of a lot of people a lot. And part of that role, part of that job is that you get a lot of rejection. So because of the kind of work that I do, like I get no's like every day on the regular. There's not a day I don't go by in my life where I get a no from the public. It's just part of the job. I came to this work. I guess I'll kind of back up a little bit. I came to this work because I work for politicians in public relations on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And so I first started noticing it there. And a lot of people's emotions were tied up in extrinsic motivations. So it's easy to experience burnout that way. And it was just something that I always help people with. I always help people, how can we like work with the public better? How can you think differently about this? And so I started helping people really focus on their own thoughts, like focus on their own image and how can you project a certain image. But the key here is that I never focused on myself for decades. So
yeah, it doesn't. And as an example, because again, going back to being a parent, even, right, or a partner, you're constantly putting everything you are into being a mother, being a husband, being a wife, being a provider, being all of these things. Your occupation is just like that, especially somebody whose business is a representation of themselves in politics and in media, social media, politics, content creators, actors, actresses, musicians. Your image is your business, right? You are whatever you portray is your business, like you said. And then that's overwhelming. That's overwhelming. And all of the things that you're doing, right? I don't go and get my nails done because I want to impress all of you watching, right? I don't do that. I get my nails done because it makes me feel good. When my nails are off, I'm just like, ooh, they look stubby and short, and I don't like it, right? I don't like it. So I do it for me. But when you're in the media and when you're in that focal point of everybody's watching you, you're doing these things not for your own benefit. It's a chore, right? Getting your nails done, getting your hair done, going to the spa, whatever it's a chore at that point, because that's what is expected of you. You're not doing it because you want to do it. You're doing it because you have to do it to keep up an image or keep up an expectation. And all those things that should be helping you retain who you are, make you feel good, relax you, all of those things go to the wayside because they're now chores.
right. And that's why I had to start thinking differently about those things, because I was going to get my nails done like regularly, just because, like you said, for the same reasons. But I had to rethink how I did those things when I started experiencing burnout in my own work. It was like, I guess, an existential experience. I can't think of how to pronounce the word now, but basically going to get my nails done feels a lot different and means something different for me now than it did before I started focusing on myself and before I started getting mentoring. Like, one thing that really helped me through my own occupational burnout was mentoring and really thinking about my own thoughts. Because so one thing that I do, not only do I help other people with their public relations, and that's what I had done for so long. So I was the girl working in the background. I was the girl working in the press room who, you never saw me. You saw the member of Congress, or you never saw me. You saw the educator front facing in front of his or her students. But I was the person in the back, like on their team. But and you probably can relate to this, when I started putting my own self out there, and that came first in the form of me being an author. Like, I've published a lot of pieces and I have a co-edited book. when you're putting your own intellectual self out there in the form of writing, or like you said, in social media or in your image, you feel like, I started to feel like I was putting a piece of myself out there and I was getting a lot of rejection. So I was used to helping other people through their rejection.
Yeah.
But I had to start really thinking hard when I was getting papers rejected. Like, people would just straight out say, no, this paper is terrible, we're not going to publish it. Or no, this is not good enough. Or no, we don't like your offer, like your offer is bad. Like, I literally started to feel the physical effects of being told no.
Yes.
So one thing that I started to do is I had to really start to do things for myself, for my own mental health. So getting my nails done means something totally different for me now
Yeah.
than it did before I started working on my own mental health. I had started to like think about, going to get a massage when I got a major project rejected. I would say, okay, I got this paper rejected, or this major client rejected my offer. Let me call my esthetician. I better go get me a massage. So,
Yeah. Now, do you think that's necessarily the occupational burnout with being the rejection, right? No matter what it is that you're doing, no matter what position you're in or title or role that you're subscribing to at that moment, any form of rejection is a hit to your confidence and your identity, right? Your sense of self and your capability moving forward, right? If you are experiencing a lot of rejection, especially in a situation like those, you're liable to start feeling bad about yourself, right? So and again, it changes why you're doing those things. Instead of doing them for yourself, you're now like, okay, if I do this, maybe I'm not going to be rejected. Or if I do this, maybe that's not going to happen. And then again, it becomes a chore. But hits to your confidence and your sense of identity can feel like occupational burnout as well, because it wears you down, right?
right.
It occupational burnout, confidence burnout, lifestyle burnout, all of that can absolutely happen. And they're very similar. It's the cause that's different, right?
That's what I think is but it's all connected. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So
Yeah.
I was noticing it in my work. So how I was handling rejection and how I was handling certain things at work, I know showed up in other areas of my life too. So when I think of occupational burnout, I think of it in terms of like experiencing a lot of anxiety, and the triggers come from work. But like you said, these kind of emotions, the triggers can come from a lot of different places. It could come from family members, it could come from a partner, it could come from money. I know a money coach who like work with people when their triggers are money. So it could be a lot of different triggers. So, but what I have been thinking about a lot because of my own personal experiences are people who struggle, who are triggered faster when something happens at work.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the signs, symptoms, and causes of occupational burnout. And then, of course, how do we stop them, right? Like, what do we do moving forward to change them? Because we want to help everybody who's experienced or potentially experienced occupational burnout, and hopefully we can stop that progress before it begins and gets to that point. So what do you think? Let's start with the causes. What do you think truly causes occupational burnout? For me, I would think you made a point, and I wanted to expand on that, is occupational burnout. Your partner, your children, the people in your life can add to that when they are not supportive, when they are rejecting your idea or your identity, when they're rejecting your business. I know as a coach and a spiritual teacher, I had to deal right away with a lot of my friends and family going, oh, you're psychic now? Really? And then again, a hit, right? And it just makes you want to either give up or work even harder to prove them wrong, right? And to prove that you're worthy. So there's a vicious cycle in there that I think is one leading cause of occupational burnout, is the people you surround yourself with and whether or not they are accepting or supportive.
That's one thing that, because I talked about having mentors and coaches and people to help you, like when you notice that you're experiencing these things. And that's one of the things that one of my mentors mentioned before about the importance of your surrounding. Like you want to spend a lot of time with people who understand what you're doing, who understand the value of your work, if you're working inside or outside of a home, who actually kind of get it, I guess. But even if they don't get it, they don't throw darts at you.
Yeah.
So you want to surround yourself with people who are high vibe, is kind of what she calls it, and people who will support you and cheer you in your corner. So
yeah. I actually posted about that today. I posted about that on TikTok today. I'm starting to get into TikTok videos. So if anybody wants to follow the show on TikTok, please do, because we need 1,000 likes to go live on TikTok. But I posted a video on TikTok today, and I was having a discussion with my husband last night about being supportive. And with the show, I'm trying to build a community with the show of inclusivity, of non-judgment, of a safe space where you can come and learn about struggles, learn about overcoming, learn about the everyday things going on. A lot of us, we talk about mentors and coaches, right? Because a lot of us are coaches now, and the world is gravitating more towards coaching. And I'm in a ton of women helping women and entrepreneur groups. And being an entrepreneur is hard and it's lonely. You go and join one of these groups and it's women helping women entrepreneurs. You go to post something and it's either denied or it's allowed. 99% of the posts in those types of groups are veiled, hey, I'm offering this, or it's I overcame this. And then as soon as you comment or like it to show your support, it's bam, you've got a DM. Bam, you've got a DM, or you've got a comment saying, hey, I've got this going on. So I got really frustrated with that a while ago. And I went and I created my own Facebook group, and I haven't been sharing it and building it up and growing it, but it's literally women supporting women. That's the title of the group, Women Supporting Women. It is 100% promo free, even for me. And I'm the admin of the group. I created the group. I don't post my business. I don't post any of my business. I wanted a safe space for women to come in and say, oh, I'm having a really rough day. Like I just, to build genuine relationships with other entrepreneurs, with other mothers, with other people who have lost, or whatever the situation may be that you need to feel supported and connected. That's what I wanted to create with the group. We are now, and we did this the other day. I did a video the other day of, I can't even remember which video, communication on social media. So it was Monday's video. And every connection on social media now is, hey, I'd love to get you, or I love, connecting with like-minded individuals. And within 5 paragraphs or 5 back and forth communications, you're getting promoted. Being like, hey, I've got this group, or hey, I've got this offer. I think you need this. Like today I got a private message saying, oh, this would be perfect for you. Like, you don't even know me. Like, you haven't added me on Facebook yet. You've just invited me to add you. And you've already sent me a DM in my spam folder going, oh, I have this lower back thing for people who sit all the time. It'd be perfect for you. Like, you don't know if I have lower back problems. Yeah, I sit at a computer half the day, but you don't know what I'm doing for that. Like, it's burn. I can see that creating burnout is a lack of community, right? A lack of a safe space for people to genuinely connect to other people without fearing that they're going to be ridiculed or rejected or promoted right away.
Right. That's one thing that as people who also, other folks who are on the watching the replay or watching live realize too, who have their own businesses or who promote their own service, is that you get that kind of stuff, right? And that's the kind of stuff that's not the school of thought I came from in terms of helping to nurture an audience or grow your audience or make an offer. And that's one of the things I teach my clients too, is like, no, you don't just pop up in somebody's DM. Like if you want to connect with someone, like actually listen to them and connect to them. Okay, I sell lumbar support for backs, for example. I don't, but I sell lumbar support, for example. But Melissa never told me she wanted anything to do with lumbar support. So why am I even talking about this? Like actually listen to the people that is in front of you. And that really goes back to listening to yourself. Like when you really learn to listen to yourself, kind of start bringing this back to our topic, when you really learn to listen to yourself, is you overcome burnout faster, and you can listen to your audience and people you talk to. Not everyone is going to want to buy what you're offering, but why don't you just connect with that person on a human level and just be human and not salesy? Because it'll come out naturally in a conversation that you sell lumbar support, and Melissa knows she doesn't need one, but guess what? Her neighbor needs 5. Oh yeah, really? You sell lumbar support? Oh my goodness, my neighbor needs 5 of those. How about I connect you? Like it's something just simple as that.
I've noticed over since I started the show, I again have 5 businesses, right? We're very multi-passionate women, and I have multiple businesses, and nothing ever seemed to just click. Marketing for me never clicked. I can't stand marketing and advertising. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. Video, I never liked doing video. For me to do a TikTok today, I did it in one take. That was insanity for me. Like I've never had that happen. And what you were saying about when you're genuine, it clicks. It has. Over the last 3 months of me doing this show, I've rebranded one of my businesses, and it clicked, and it feels authentic, and I can promote it and talk about it and sell it from a different space that doesn't feel unhealthy, and there's no burnout there.
Right.
The show being able to do on TikTok, right? Where I was sitting the other day and I'm like, oh, I should come up with some slogans, and I want to do some merchandise, right, for the show. And I'm trying to think of all that. And then I just had this like virtual download in my brain go, this. And it just all flowed. When you're listening to yourself of what you need and what you don't need, especially in your occupation, things change. Those doors, those things that you've been struggling with, whether it's a year, 6 months, 5 years, whatever that looks like, those struggles become clear when you actually start listening to yourself and aligning to what you're trying to create.
That's right. It always starts to about listening to yourself. Yeah. Like people say, oh, well, I listen to my clients or I listen to my audience, but are you listening to yourself? And do you really understand how to connect with yourself? It's not easy to authentically and deeply listen and connect to the people that you're reaching out to. And that's when you start to burn out, because you go in action mode. And that's what happened to me. I was so busy helping other people that I wasn't listening to myself. And guess what? All those years and all those people that I helped them, but I could have helped them better and created more results for them if I had learned to understand how to listen to myself and listen to my own feelings, because I did not want to listen to my feelings. When you understand how to deeply listen to your own thoughts and feelings and intentionally choose thoughts that help you with your feelings, you're able to hear other people's thoughts and feelings better. And not only are you going to be able to connect with them for whatever their professional calling is, but you're going to help them improve their lives. Because when you learn how to listen, you learn how to listen to your partner, you learn how to listen to your family, your neighbors. Like once you learn it, it's a skill that you apply everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Because everything that you do, all your reactions, your responses, your emotions, your behaviors, all of those come down to you. They all come down to what you believe. If you believe that you're overworked, you're going to become overworked. You're going to burn out, right? If you're not listening to your body and your body says, Melissa, I'm tired. Like I need an hour or a day to just recharge. No high emotions, no up and down and all this activity, no gym, no whatever it may be. And it says, Melissa, just take a breath. And it changes, right? There are so many signs and symptoms of occupational burnout that you can sit there and go, okay, my body is telling me this, my mind is telling me this. And it's a body mind energy connection, right? Because sorry, my cat's sniffing my microphone. If only she would meow. She's the raspiest, she's my jazz cat. Like she's got the raspiest meow ever.
That's cool.
Speaking of.
Yes.
Spaz. Spaz.
What
do you think?
Responded.
Hey, Spaz. I was trying to get her to meow. She'll follow me up and down the stairs and like trip me meowing because she wants attention.
You might get a meow out of her before the show is over.
You never know. Yeah, now that I'm petting her. She's going to purr in the microphone, which is quite funny. Anyway, yeah, so there is this body, mind, spirit connection that really, if your energy is telling you that you need to relax and you don't listen, your body is eventually going to tell you need to relax. And whether that's burnout, whether that's just feeling tired or run down, there are all of these multiple symptoms and signs. So what do you think are the signs and symptoms of burnout before it actually happens?
Well, so I can speak. I'm not a therapist, a counselor, I'm not like a licensed psychologist or anything like that. So I primarily speak from my own experiences and what I've seen in other professional women who work outside of the home. Some of those include like anxiety attacks, and those will knock you off your feet where you can't even work. They show up in your, like, you get physically ill before you go to work. You're not productive. You feel like disconnected from that part of your work. You're bored or you're really sensitive. Because what I started doing is that even though I knew this work, like theoretically, and I knew it for other people because I had been studying it for so long and writing about it and things like that, but I never knew it for myself. But then it started to show up where I would, like, my body would get shakes, or I would start crying before I went to work, or I would start crying at the end of the day after. I'm like, oh my God, why am I crying about this particular work thing? So it might come out in various emotions. You could get short-tempered with members that you're, people you like, your family or people that you're close to. And that's why we say how you do one thing is how you do everything, because it's ultimately going to impact other areas of your life too. So those are some of the things that I have noticed in myself. Or you're not sleeping well. That's always a common one, right? Yes. So I wasn't sleeping well at all. It did, but I would just like I said, I'm an action girl. So I would just keep taking action and take more action. And then eventually your body will make you stop taking action at some point.
Yeah. So physical illness, emotional instability.
Your
one of the things
goes down too.
Yeah, performance, physical performance, even emotional, mental performance. Absolutely. Your cognitive abilities. One thing I've noticed is when you do have family, you come home and you don't want to do anything. You don't want to socialize. You just want to do your own thing and be left alone. And then the rest of your family feels that. So when you're feeling burnt out and you're feeling unhappy with the way your life is going, because a lot of it comes down to unhappiness, right? If you're feeling burnt out, that comes down to being unhappy with your situation, with your life, with your career, with your relationship, but everything else will suffer if you're not acknowledging that. Like I said, coming home and saying, I need time by myself. Like, I'm done. And if it's repeatedly every day, coming home and saying, oh, I need a glass of wine. You can have a glass of wine every day. I'm not judging you for that. So no worries on there. But if it's something that you feel you need to cope with your day, then something's not right.
Or it could be some people, a bag of Cheetos. One of my mentors would come and she would just eat a bag of Cheetos. And then of course she had other physical things that happened that came after that, weight gain and things like that, because she wasn't dealing with her own emotional life. So it's called occupational burnout. I think it's called occupational burnout because the triggers are at work, but it's everywhere. It's like we keep saying, is going to come back. And for me personally, it came down to like I would spend so much time on a project and then I would face rejection after rejection. I started feeling like I wasn't enough. So I started making those rejections. And for those of us who work in client-facing jobs, clients rejecting you, we started making that mean things about us. But that's when we have to check our thoughts. I started having thoughts of not being enough. So guess what? If I feel like I'm not enough at work, I'm going to feel like I'm not enough elsewhere too, somewhat. So,
and you'll do things and you'll say things. That's the thing. If you don't feel something or you feel like you're not enough, you're going to take action and make decisions based on not feeling enough, right? This is why I work in identity, and we are, I think, halfway through, just about halfway through the video, so I can technically do this, when it comes to my Butterfly Lotus company, or not even that company, a Phoenix Identity, which is all about identity coaching. Every decision that we make, every emotion that we feel, every situation that we find ourselves in, unless it's one of the 15%, so bear with me, everything comes down to how you feel. Comes down to how you feel about yourself, how you feel what you're entitled to, where you feel your place in the world is. Your identity controls everything. Your mindset controls everything and says, I'm not worthy, so I'm going to put myself in a situation. I'm going to put myself in a job space where people continually make me feel unworthy. I'm going to take whatever I can get and settle for a menial job because I don't think I'm worth more. And that creates even more burnout, right? And knowing whether or not your career or your business or whatever occupation you have is what you want, you need to sit back and ask yourself, is this what I want? Is this what I need? Am I happy here? And go from there. And if it's a job that you love, maybe it's not, maybe the company you don't love. Maybe, it's like politics, right? I love politics, but maybe I don't want to be with this party anymore. I'm not aligned with what they're doing. So I'm going to move to a different party, right? I don't know if that's a possibility because I don't get involved in politics, but you know what I mean? It's everything comes down to your unique feelings about yourself. And burnout is exactly that. If you're not happy in your relationship, you're going to burn out. If you're not happy in your career, you're going to burn out. If you're not happy with what you're doing, you're going to burn out no matter what it is. And then like we've been saying, it then incorporates to everything because you're an action taker, right? So when you're not feeling happy, high vibe, positivity movement, all of that, right? It's like busted down. Just keep pushing it down. Push it down, push it down, push it down, push it down. Society has told us negativity is horrible, push it down. Instead of actually focusing and saying, hey, I'm not happy. I wonder why I'm not happy. Maybe I do need to make some changes because that's what unhappiness does. It creates change. I'm not happy, so I'm going to just push it down, push down, push down. Eventually, it's like a volcano. It has nowhere else to go. And that's what creates the disease in the rest of your life.
It is a big part of your identity is your thoughts and your feelings. So if you're not really in tune with your thoughts and your feelings, you're going to be in that push down hustle mode. And you're just going to be, and that's where I was in that action mode. I was hustling, like I was in a grind. I was like doing it. I was doing all the things every day. Oh, you want this project done? Yes, let's do that. Oh, you want this one done? Yes. Oh, you want this one done? Oh, no, I can't do that. Okay, yes, I will. So you kind of get into the grind and you're grinding and grinding and grinding. And guess what? You might be getting some results because I got results, but your results are going to suffer. And actually, you're going to get to a point where you're not going to get very good results anymore. It's just going to come to that point. If it's not going to show up in your body, like we talked about, or in your emotional health, it's going to start showing up in your results. So no matter how many actions, and that's how I knew I was burning out too, because I was getting a lot of no's. And then that no's, I started immediately, it was easy for me to go that, oh, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I should not be doing this job. But I was in the grind. I wasn't in tune with my own identity. Like you said, those thoughts and those feelings that drove those actions and not thinking the right thought. And it's not about thinking it's not a black or white thing, but thinking better thoughts, I should say, or thoughts that serve me. And I wasn't doing that. So I had to, it was a critical point where I had to I took a gap year. I took a gap year, and during that gap year is because I was out of the grind. So I would not, I mean, one way you could get out of the hustle and out of the grind and deal with burnout is to take some kind of break, like take a day off or like take a week off and literally like take it off and deal with your own self. But I took a gap year. And when I took that gap year is really where I learned how to coach myself, how, because I was coaching other people for so long with their public relations and helping them and helping other people, like a lot of us tend to do, put other people first. But when I was on that gap year is when I really started to think about my own thoughts and feelings and how those were creating the results I was getting. Because I was always underwhelmed with all of the things I was doing in my work. Like I loved my job. I loved my colleagues. I loved the institutions I worked for. I loved the businesses and all the people I was helping. But I just feel like something was missing. And what really was missing was the ability to self-coach and really deal with that burnout, that occupational burnout. Like I said, for people like me, it just doesn't, you're just not cured and you're cured for the rest of your life. You might have a disposition to be an anxious. So like anxiety is my default emotion sometimes. So you really have to, this is a life work. This is like dealing with my own emotional world is for me is my life work. And I think the world will actually be a better place if a lot more humans would do the emotional world, but that's just my opinion. But
We're always a work in progress. Always. It doesn't matter how good your mindset is. I'm still a work in progress and I'm a mindset expert, right? There's days where I'm rip roaring mad and I'm like, okay, we need to figure out what's going on here today. Otherwise somebody's going to get hurt. We're always striving for a perfection that we're never going to have. Perfection is a myth. And every day it's a different thing. Our beliefs. So one of our followers, your thoughts creating your feelings, create your actions. It's a vicious cycle. It absolutely is. I always say your mindset creates your beliefs create your emotions, right? If you believe something is hurtful, it's going to be hurtful. If you believe that it's not hurtful, it's not. Somebody calling me the B word, I'm like, whatever, doesn't bother me, right? And I don't get upset about it. Even if they're doing it out of anger, I don't get upset about it. Sure, okay. Like, doesn't, sure, whatever. But if I turned around and said that to somebody else and they reacted aggressively or angrily or crying because I've hurt their feelings, and that wasn't my intention, their belief that that is a hurtful comment would then trigger those emotions. Right? So everything that we emotionally feel is linked back to our own beliefs. You can say you hurt my feelings, but it's your feelings that were triggered, not theirs. It's your mindset is quite the road. it's quite the roadmap. And when it comes to feeling burnt out, again, all of those little hits to your confidence, to your self-worth, to your day-to-day grind, it's just another hit on your identity, right? And just another thing that's, I'm feeling that way.
But it's all about what we make it mean. So back a few years ago when I was now that I've dealt with the issue and really worked on my thoughts and my emotions and my emotional world, when I get rejections, it doesn't mean the same thing it used to mean. I still get rejections, like, don't get me wrong, but my caliber has gotten better. So I get rejected, but it's from a different caliber of people, right? So it's from something different. And my computer's acting up a little bit here. Okay, I'm back. And so, but I really had to go with what I made rejection mean. And when you make someone outside factors mean something about you, what you think about them or what you believe about what is said or done, that's when it impacts, your psyche. That's when it starts to really impact what you think about the work, because when you work, it's not so really what I had to learn over the last few years. It doesn't matter where I work. Like, there is a lesson in each job for me for what I do. I don't feel like I have to switch jobs because I'm looking for the next best thing, or that I think the grass is greener on the other side. I have to do this work to deal with my own psyche when it comes to being emotionally well at work and what rejection means. Otherwise, I'm going to be hitting my head up against a proverbial brick wall all the time. And I'm going to keep getting rejections, and I'm not going to love what I do. I'm not going to find that next version of myself. I'm not going to evolve. I'm going to stay stuck. A lot of people stay stuck in what they feel like they're stuck in their jobs, and they know it's something better. Is because you haven't dealt with what you need to learn in that job for you to access that next version of whatever the next version of the job you want. So I heard a story not too long ago that really resonated with me on a different podcast. I don't remember which podcast it was, about the director, the filmmaker, M. Night Shyamalan. So people used to say terrible things about his scripts and his movies. He would get some of the really, and I'm used to this kind of rejection where people would say things about my rejection, like, I don't even know why you wrote this, or I don't even know, this is not even worthy of being published anywhere. And they would say the same things about his scripts and his movies. Like, this movie, they would say this movie is like Scooby-Doo and things like that. But, until you come to terms with what you make that mean, like you said, your I don't know how you said it, but your psyche, your thoughts and your emotions and what you make that mean, you're not ever going to be able to advance your work. So,
and that's the thing. Rejection is an individual belief. Judgment is an individual belief. I had a guy comment on the show the other day and said that I was being judgmental. And I said, if you believe that I'm being judgmental, then that's your belief. I can't change your belief. But judgmental is a unique belief. Rejection is a unique belief. If you gave me your offer and said, Melissa, I have this, it's really awesome, and this, I love it. You've got to read it. I think you'll love it. When I read it and I come back to you, if it's not for me, my first thing is not, why did you write this? Because that's a judgment. That's a ridicule, right? The proper response is a rejection shouldn't be a rejection of you. or a rejection of somebody else's common sense. For you to sit and say, hey, it's great. I might not understand where you're coming from, and I might not be feeling it. It's great for you, but it's not my style, right? That's not a rejection of you. It's not a rejection of your work. It means I don't connect to it. Right. And I do that in my pre-screening interviews with people. I flat out, I have to record them because somebody was very upset when I said no. And I said, I'm not rejecting you. I'm not rejecting your topic or your passion. It's not a rejection. It's, I don't feel it. And if I don't feel it, I can't consciously move forward with it because it's not right for me. But that doesn't mean it's not right for you. That doesn't mean it's invalidated. It's how you think about that rejection is, I'm not being rejected. Now, if the person's intent is, oh, this is crap, like, I don't even know why you wrote it, I'd be like, you know what? That's fine. That's your opinion. Doesn't affect me. I love my work. Doesn't affect me. That's like, again, this show. Not everybody's going to like the show. You have an hour of random conversations about a topic, right? While I think it's a great show, and most people will think it's a great show because it's inclusivity, it's judgment free, it's a safe space to talk about those struggles and how to overcome, just like the rejection and the occupational burnout, is the way you look at it. My favorite quote that I've coined is, negativity is the catalyst for positive growth. Every negative experience, every thought, every belief, every piece of negativity that you encounter in your life has a lesson for you to grow, whether that's growing stronger, smarter, wiser, more beautiful, whatever that means for you, it's going to create some form of positive growth, depending on how you look at it, what your perspective of it is, how you transmute that energy from a negative to a positive. One of my superpowers is I can turn absolutely every negative into a positive growth. Mm-hmm. Every single one. And it's because I look at them differently.
That's what it comes down to. You really have to look at it differently. And somebody might say no in one place, but you'll get a yes somewhere else. And that's one of the things I had to start telling myself now is like, okay, well, I like peaches, but I'm gonna pick on you, Melissa. Melissa doesn't like peaches. So I will take my peaches elsewhere. Someone else likes peaches. Melissa likes apples. So if Miss Melissa and I ever run into each other again, maybe I'll have some apples I can offer. If not, that's okay too. So,
or maybe we'll just make apple peach pie. Right? Everybody is entitled to their own unique beliefs and needs and likes and dislikes. And that's what our identity is made up of. My identity isn't, hey, I'm Melissa, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a talk show host. That's not my identity. Those are things that I subscribe to and roles that I love, but that's not me. I am fiercely protective of my family. I love being near the water. I love swimming, and that's like my favorite workout if I ever do work out, because I'm over 200 pounds. But I love to go to the beach or go to the pool and just swim. I dream of being the next Oprah Winfrey. And I want the mansion that is on the hill in Winnipeg for $8.5 million. That makes you feel like you know me. It's my dreams, my goals, my likes and dislikes. I don't like judgment. I think there's no place in the world for judgment unless you've done something illegal or morally wrong.
All right. And that's why it's so important to realize why you're doing the work that you're doing. Like, you want to be the next Oprah Winfrey, for example. So you and Oprah are going to get a whole lot of rejection. She doesn't get any rejection. But when she was but when she was starting off, I'm sure she would be happy to probably tell us she got a lot of rejection. That's just part of it. But like you said, okay, well, what am I going to do with that energy now? You mentioned learning from rejections. And sometimes I have to admit, from my own personal experience, it's hard for me to learn why somebody said this about my project. I don't get it. But guess what? If I don't get it now, that's okay. I'm going to go cook some dinner because that's one of the things I love. So you have to spend time on the things you love. I love cooking. I love film. Clearly, I mentioned filming earlier, or movie making, and grocery shopping. Oh, well, they just rejected my project, or a client didn't. I coached somebody on this the other day. A client didn't show up for a call. You need to have something that you love that's planned next, so you can get on that thing until you're able to have the mental space to learn from it. If there is something for you to learn from it, you might just need space for it. So
Yes.
for me, that would be like going to the grocery store or buying some of the bigger projects that I have to admit, like not every little rejection do I do this. Like for the everyday rejections, I like watch a film or exercise or cook because I love cooking. So if I get a rejection, I just stop what I'm doing and I start cooking. So like you have to have something that you love, it be it swimming or whatnot. But from the bigger projects that can make or break your business, I have bigger things that I do. Like I go buy like luxury handbags. So I have a project that didn't make. Oh, because I only do those big projects like every twice a year or so, where they're like really big make or break projects for my business. And if it doesn't make, I know it's going to make. I make those intentional thoughts, but sometimes it's hard to have those intentional thoughts when one of your big projects just failed. So guess what? I'm going to buy a luxury handbag. And then in a couple weeks, I'll get back to those thoughts that I need to figure out.
Which probably isn't the best scenario for people to do, is go spend an exuberant amount of money on luxury handbags. I have an obsession with leather handbags, and I tend to buy them at my local thrift stores. I have a whole like wall of luxury handbag, or not luxury handbags, but handbags that I like. And yeah, I usually go to the thrift store because I'm like, yeah, I'll go pay $15 rather than $100.
Right. And it has to be something healthy. Like you said, you can't go and max your credit card buying like a genuine leather.
I know people who've done that.
Yeah, that's not healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
I know people who have used shopping as a therapeutic outlet, and it's not healthy. The key really is that your cooking for you is an emotional response. And when you cook, you remove the emotion. So anybody watching or catching the replay, meditation. A lot of people will say, oh, you have to do for meditation. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. The true purpose of meditation, and take it from me, I'm a spiritual teacher. The true purpose of meditation is to clear your emotions. It's not to clear your mind. It's not to quiet everything. It is to relax your body and relax your emotions, because then you can logically process. Meditation is as simple as doing the 15-second breathing technique. It's as simple as cleaning your house and dancing to your favorite music. It's driving in your car while listening to music, cooking a meal, or baking, or coloring, whatever that may look like. Whatever relaxes you is meditation. And that's why you gravitate towards that. That's why you gravitate towards cooking, is because it relaxes your emotions. It calms them, so that instead of having a breakdown or giving into those emotionally numbing moments where you could sit there for hours and think horrible thoughts about yourself as to why you've now been rejected or your project has been rejected, now you do something else, something that feeds your soul and makes you happier. Right? But eventually you do process that and say, okay, now I'm calmer. I'm not emotionally charged. How do what is this rejection telling me? Is it that I need to say screw you to the people who are rude about it? Do I need to say, oh, maybe there's some tweaks that they prefer? Whatever that looks like in that scenario, right? Is when you relax your emotions and say, hey, I got this. I'm going to just do something else right now. That's, getting your nails done, going for a massage, whatever it is that relaxes you it's key. And for anybody experiencing emotional burnout or occupational burnout or any form of burnout, you have to find that happy place. You have to find that happy medium where you can go to and say, okay, I'm calm, right? Counting to 10. Counting to 10 pisses me off more than it calms me. The 15-second breathing technique is literally 15 seconds, and it's inhale for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, exhale for 5 seconds, and then hold again for 5. It's the simplest breathing technique. 15, 20 seconds and you're done. And when you're done that, your body just goes, and it's completely transformational.
Those are some key things, because that is something that I learned when I started having my anxiety started to go up last year, is I learned how to do breathing on the spot, because I can't just break out and start cooking about if I'm on a trip or in an office somewhere. Like sometimes you just need something on the spot that you can do. Like when I'm at home and I get like a client didn't show, or not for the major rejections, but for the clients who don't show or something that doesn't work out, I go cut up some vegetables. I like using knives in the kitchen. So I keep my knife sharp. I go cut up some vegetables. Like I don't grab a bag of Cheetos, or I don't like do something that's unhealthy. Like I have a whole repertoire of things that I turn to that I don't need to think through. Because like you said, is a way for folks to process their emotion. And sometimes you can't deal with the thoughts right away, but you can do some actions that helps you get at those thoughts and feelings, because you eventually need to get at those thoughts and feelings or you will get burnt out, because that was my problem. So sometimes you can't. Yeah, go ahead.
Or you turn to addiction.
You do. Yeah.
Because that's exactly, addiction is created by a need to remove or replace an emotion or a feeling of not being able to cope or utilize those emotions.
Yeah.
Right? It's a processing technique where you don't have to process, and it's unhealthy as hell.
It is, and it creates more problems for you later. But the things we're talking about here are some of the things that I've personally done. So I don't have a client show, I'll go to my car and listen to some dance music or something like that, or drive around the block or go for a ride or something like that. It's just having those. Yeah, having those, or going to the grocery store. Now, you did talk about shopping, and you have a very good point there. We have to be careful with shopping too, because I can go in Target and spend some serious money, but it all really depends on what your budget is. Like there are places to shop where you don't have to blow your budget or max your credit cards. So
you don't want to turn into a hoarder either.
Right, exactly.
Right? Shopping addiction is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge thing. But you think of, we're talking about occupational burnout, right? You think of the amount of celebrities, politicians, pageant stars who are absolutely burnt out, unhappy, and struggling with where they are, right? And for me, it comes down to an identity crisis, and they're not happy. And they turn to drugs, to alcohol, to sex, to shopping addiction, to spending all their money, to parties, and all of these different scenarios, panic, anxiety, depression, and potentially suicide for quite a few of them, because they don't know how to cope. They don't know how to feel empowered or safe enough to come to somebody like me and say, I'm not happy.
That's why people have to, we're coaches, we're big advocates of coaching and mentoring. Like sometimes you have to have somebody show you your own mind. So yes. You don't want it, because your mind is all you have. So you can't see your own mind sometimes, especially when you're in a heightened state where you're experiencing some occupational burnout, something is happening at work that's not going well. You have to have had that mentor or that coach. Even if you need therapy, you have to have that somewhere. So I always tell people, don't wait until you need that person. Like always know how to have access to that person somehow, when you can't get out of your own mind, because that's what coaches and mentoring and therapists and healers and counselors and people like that do for us.
Speaking of, since we're just about done, that's exactly why I created a Phoenix identity. I created a Phoenix identity in 2017. I just rebranded it, so it wasn't called that in 2017. But I started my coaching journey in 2017 when Chester Bedingfield, Chris Cornell, and multiple other very high-profile individuals had committed suicide. And my goal throughout the last 5-6 years has been to help those individuals before they get to that point, right? Before they get to a point where they say, I have no other way out. I know how to get into that mindset. I know how to change it so that you're not feeling lost. When you're trying to maneuver through and you've gotten to that point where you're at burnout or you're lost within all of that negative mindset, you don't see a way out because you're too emotional about it. You don't see the way out. So for somebody like me to come in and say, okay, first we need to calm this down. We need to calm it down. We get it calmed down. One of my previous clients could not have a conversation without breaking out in tears. They were absolutely and utterly emotionally unstable. And I said, okay, first we have to calm it down. Let's figure out how to calm this down. And it's not about my way. It's about your way. What do you enjoy? What helps you feel grounded and calm and able to think clearly? When you have somebody like me to turn around and say, okay, what are these thoughts, right? We go back and we connect the dots. Not having somebody around to help maneuver through those negative thoughts and those negative emotions and beliefs, it is so easy to get stuck back in those. And again, you won't be able to find your way out. So having a mentor, having somebody like me, a therapist, a psychologist, a coach, whatever it may look like, having somebody who knows what they're doing and is able to take you through that negativity and say, how are we going to change this to a positive?
Right, exactly.
Right.
And that's what I did on my gap years when I have been a coach for a long time, but it wasn't until I hired a life coach that I knew what that meant for my own identity in dealing with occupational burnout. Now I just integrate that in the work that I do when I work with my clients too, because they're public facing people who are in the public, and it's a lot of stuff that happens when you're a public facing person, but I'm there to help them mitigate that occupational burnout before it even gets there. But you have to have, like, it's always best to have that life coach on hand or whoever can help you through the mindset work. Exactly, can help you through the mindset work before you get to that point. Yep. So that's so important.
And honestly, it's never too late to turn it around.
No, it's not.
Never too late, and it's never too early. It's never too early to figure out who you are and how to stand true in yourself and how to, one of the biggest keys, and I got ridiculed and rejected in my coaching practice for this, is that the negativity is not going to hurt you. You give it power. The people around you give it power. You can take that power and change it into a positive and say, I'm stronger because of this. I'm smarter because of this. I'm more confident because of this. And starting with your identity and being like, okay, I know who I am now. We're good. And go from there. It's always a work in progress, but you have to start it.
You do. And you think that some people think that if they go from one, and I knew this early on, so I didn't do it, but I've noticed, I observed this in other people where they think, I'm just going to quit this job and go to another one and it's going to be better. You just have to you have to work on this because you're going to carry it everywhere. So it's just going to follow you wherever you go.
Well, and that's a great example. I'm going to be happier when. That doesn't work. That sentence, if you ever tell me I will be happy when, I don't care whether it's I'll be happy when I lose 20 pounds, I'll be happy when I get a job that I love, I'll be happy when doesn't work. Because as soon as that goal is achieved, as soon as you reach that when, you're going to be happy for the moment. And then something else is going to make you unhappy again. Because it's not the when that's making you unhappy. It's not the lack of being at that goal. It's you are making yourself unhappy. Not your weight, not your diet, not your job, you. It could, because again, your emotions are created by your beliefs. And yeah, so anyway, is there anything you would like to add before we get going?
I think we covered it all. We covered all the things that are so important for people to hear. You know, folks just need to remember that our results are only from 20% of our efforts. The rest of it is thoughts and feelings. So until you get a coach or mentor or somebody, if you get to the point where you need a therapist or something, you have to come to terms with that, because you're just going to be grinding and you're going to grind yourself down to nothing, and you won't be of service to not only your clients, but your family, people you love, your partners, nor yourself. So I think that's pretty much it for me. And I learned that. Luckily, I learned it sooner than later. Like you said, it's never too late.
Yeah. Never too early and never too late to make your life the way you want it. Yeah. And that's why a Phoenix identity, right? Light it all up. Not literally, not literally people, but a Phoenix, when it's unhappy, it burns its life to the ground. And it reclaims its identity. It says, I'm still a Phoenix. That's all gone, but I'm still me. And I'm just going to recreate my life better. That's what we do, right? You're still you. It's how you express yourself. So, well, I absolutely love this episode. I know somebody personally who I'm going to be messaging as soon as we get off and saying, if you didn't already catch this episode, you need to watch it. Because this person, I've seen firsthand them go home and have no time, no patience, and no desire to interact with their family because they're just not happy. And that's not okay. So for anybody watching or catching the replay, if you would like to connect with either myself or Jamay, please do so. Our links are in the description. If you would like to be a co-host, guest blogger, if you'd like to see a topic featured on the show, or if you would like to sponsor an episode or one of our other sponsorship opportunities, please reach out to me at justalivetv.com. You can now watch the episodes straight off of the website on the homepage, www.justalivetv.com. And Gista is actually giving you something to talk about. So justalivetv.com is giving you something to talk about, livetv.com. And I'm, of course, your host, Melissa Krechler. And like I said, just if you need to talk about a topic in here, if you want to talk about anything that we've touched on in here, please reach out to one of us. Again, the link is in the descriptions. And I'll always like, follow, share, subscribe to our newsletter, all of that fun crap that you have to hear on every video, because we have to say it so that you join. Jamay, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful episode, and I'm so excited you came and joined me today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. All right, just a family. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you